doing that. All right, welcome and hello. I would love it if you would take a moment to let me know who you are and where you're from. It's always fun to see that we get often people from all over the world, from where I live in Canada, all the way across North America into Australia and Spain and England. And it's just a ton of fun for me to see where you're from. So if you wouldn't mind posting where you're from, I would love that. Also, while we are at this, okay, just a moment, I've lost my teaching notes. Just hang on just a moment here. That's not the file I needed. Okay, I have everything open on my desk, and guess what? My desk has so much stuff on it that it's nearly impossible to see everything. Okay, so I just need to do a quick little rearrange here. My apologies for this little delay, one of those little tech faux pas. There we go. Okay, so I just need to move that over to there, move this one over to here. Yes, yes. Now I can see what I need to see and keep an eye on everything. Perfect. Thank you for your patience with that. Hi, Jeff. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us on Instagram. Alrighty, so we've got Veronique, I believe it is, from Hollywood, Florida. Thank you for joining us, Veronique, and it's great to know where you're from. I appreciate you sharing that, and I know we've had you with us before. Thank you for coming back. All right. So you'll find that I will actually give you way more information the more you interact with me. So please join me in my sandbox. Let's have some fun here today. Let's build some sandcastles. Thank you for introducing yourselves as you have. My name is Judith Cobb. I'm a master herbalist, natural nutrition clinical practitioner, and a certified iridologist, certified comprehensive iridologist, and a certified comprehensive iridology instructor. I have been in the wellness industry now for over 4 decades. I have been an iridologist for all of that time. I have studied 3 different styles of iridology under 8 different instructors and have certified in a couple of different schools. The key thing about all of that is that I haven't believed everything that I've been taught all the way along. I take it in, I practice it, I study it, I use it, and I assess whether it's actually working or not. And if it's not working after a few years, it gets turfed. And I throw it away because I only want things that actually work. So everything that is out there about iridology is not necessarily accurate. And my goal in sharing information with you in these Thursday morning workshops is to help you debunk some of what's out there. I've written a whole slew of books that were self-published. I can't even remember all the titles. Pregnancy Naturally, Healthy Kids Naturally, the Herbal Birth Kit Handbook, the Essential Guide to Nature Sunshine Products, and Biokinesiology Level 1 and Level 2, Biokinesiology Color Therapy Level 1, Level 2. And my most recent piece, which is available only to students in my class, is the Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology textbook. It is a 200-page full-color digital iridology textbook. And so there we go. That is me. I have been, as I said, in the wellness industry for 4 decades. Hello, Elrom. Good to see you on Instagram. Thanks for being there. And we are going to take some time. Now I'm going to flip the camera off the screen. Hello. So that we can talk about these questions that need answers. And again, I am watching the comments box to see what questions you actually have so that we can make sure they get answered. Now, if I'm looking away from the camera a little bit, it's because I do have a script, because otherwise I would forget what I want to share with you. And so I've got my notes over there. I've done a lot of webinars and a lot of Facebook Live events, as many of you know, in an effort to share with you lots of information about iridology and in an effort to help you have a better base with which to make decisions about learning iridology and about practicing iridology. As all of my students will tell you, I love questions. And because questions tell me that my students or the people that I'm conversing with are thinking, they're searching, they're looking for information, those cogs are turning. And maybe they're being presented with information they've never thought of before, but they're not taking it in naively. They're taking it in critically. And I love that. I love teaching for understanding. I don't like to teach for the cold regurgitation of facts because anybody can do that. I like to teach for understanding. And when my students ask questions, that's when I know that they are also looking for meaning and for understanding. I really reinforce, and my students will tell you this, that there is no such thing as a stupid question. Because in every course I teach, and I do a lot of teaching, Iridology is only one of the courses that I teach, but in every course that I teach, I will guarantee you that if one student has a question, another student either has the same question, or when they hear the question, they'll go, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, and they will benefit from the answer too. So it's really important as we're doing our little discussion today, if you have a question, please ask it. Now, I'm going to apologize for my camera. It does this little electronic blippy thing. It doesn't like my computer. It works fine on one of my other machines, but it doesn't work on my big computer very well. So I apologize for that. Hopefully that's not too distracting. Today's session is dedicated entirely to answering questions that you should be asking anyone that you want to study iridology with. And if you've already done your iridology training, these are questions that if you're not feeling satisfied with your training for any reason, questions you should have asked. Now, having said that, you can actually probably adapt these questions for just about any holistic health course that you want to take. Okay, so jot these down as we go through them, because I'm going to share with you the 7 most common questions I get asked. And then we're going to do a quick iris analysis. Then we're going to introduce a little bit of information about the Iridology course I teach. And we'll get that all done and hopefully be done in under about 30 minutes from now. I want you to remember as we talk about these questions, and I welcome dialogue, I welcome conversation on this, that there are no wrong answers. Right? These questions are meant to make you think, and I'm going to share with you my experience. Another iridologist, another teacher might have a different experience set, and that's perfectly valid. We all agree on that experience is a valid thing and our background is valid, and where we're coming from is what validates our answers. So first question is, how does using iridology with my clients help me help my clients? And the second part of this is, how does it help my business? Okay, so let's look at this. When I'm doing an iris assessment with my clients, the first thing to know is it actually does not make my sessions longer. It makes my client work faster, more precise, and it helps me to actually understand my clients better, to meet their needs more fully and in a more targeted way, rather than doing a big shotgun pattern with them. As such, it saves me time. It creates rapport. One of my iridology teachers who I'm still in touch with, Bill Cardona, says iridology teaches us what questions to ask. And so I use iridology as my intake process with my client because it helps me to understand what questions to ask my client. And because I'm asking questions that are laser focused on my client, not a generic questionnaire list, it creates rapport really quickly. It also helps me to focus on my client's needs. It teaches me what questions to ask my client. And I love that it's a non-invasive tool. It gives me a much deeper understanding of my client's needs. And that to me is super, super exciting. I'm just going to do something with my phone here. Just let me pop this around, and I'm hoping I've got that aimed well. Okay, excellent. So again, so many skills that we learn as holistic practitioners are actually standalone skills. And when we try to integrate them into our business, it takes us more time to use that skill. It lengthens out our appointments. What I find iridology does is it integrates my skills. It helps me to understand with what I need to do with my client, how best to approach the problems. It helps me to use my herb knowledge, my nutrition knowledge, my knowledge of tapping, my knowledge of aromatherapy, my knowledge of flower essences, and to draw in the pieces that are going to be most effective for my client. And it helps me to do that in a way that helps me to not overwhelm my client. Okay, that is super, super important for me, that I not overwhelm my client, because I will tell you at the very beginning of my practice, of my business, overwhelm my client was my middle name, right? I used to really, really dramatically overwhelm my clients, and it was not a good thing. Second question, what styles of iridology have I learned? Because there are many styles out there, right? And they are all different. They all teach iris analysis, but they all have different understandings and different approaches. I originally learned the Bernard Jensen style. My original teacher had studied face-to-face with Bernard Jensen twice, done 2 of his courses, got certified through him. Then I learned RAID, which is an emotional interpretation, a personality interpretation of the eyes, with a lovely instructor who's actually here in my hometown. Her name is Chris Smith. She has since retired. And then I was blessed to learn constitutional iridology. Originally, my training was via VHS. Oh, did I just date myself? Videotapes that were produced by Harry Wolf. And that led me to be able to study with his business partner, Bill Caradonna. And I studied with Bill Caradonna a couple of times face-to-face, certified under him a couple of times, and then took that on because that was the launching step to certify with the International Iridology Practitioners Association. Which styles of iridology do I use, and why did I choose them? Well, my constitutional iridology is my primary one. I really don't use the Jensenian anymore. It's been proven to be outdated and has not kept up with current research. I dabble in RAID. I'm not super proficient in it, but the pieces that I use from it, I find very effective for helping me to connect with my clients even on an even deeper level. How I ended up with this was, as a Jensenian iridologist, I got super, super frustrated. I had studied with several Jensenian instructors. I went out to do a live course, to take a live course in Vancouver. You had the airfare, the hotel, talked to a couple of colleagues into going with me, and really got frustrated. There was, back in the days of using photographic slides rather than PowerPoint slides, the instructor had shown these big images up on this great big screen. I saw a marking on the screen, and I didn't understand what it was. It was something I'd never seen before. And I asked the teacher, what is that? And he said, I don't see what you're looking at. So I went up to the screen and I framed the mark with my hands like this. And I said, this right here, what is this and what does it mean? He said, I don't see what you're looking at. But other students went, yeah, what is that? So they could see it. So that was very frustrating to me. Contrast that to after I had started studying constitutional iridology, I had worked my way through the VHS videotapes. I was now starting to practice it. I was shooting photos of my clients' eyes. I still have, but I had my first iridology camera. And there was something on a slide that I did, or on a photo that I didn't understand. So I chanced making a phone call. I phoned the phone number for what is now IPA, because it was also listed as Bill Caradonna's contact. And after we said hello, and he figured out who I was because we have a mutual friend, a mutual business friend, I said, I'm looking at this picture and I don't understand it. And he said, describe it to me. And I described it using constitutional terms. And he said, do you see this in the eye? And I said, no. He said, well, if you did, you would want to interpret that marking in this direction. Then he said, do you see that in the photo? And I said, yes, I do. He said, then you want to interpret that in this other way. And here I was blown away. This man could not see the photo I was doing. This predates the internet by at least a decade. And he couldn't see it, but he understood exactly what I was talking about. And he was able to teach me over the phone. And I got so excited about that, that he didn't need to see the picture, as he understood what I was looking at. As I described it in his language, he could coach me. It was just mind-blowing for me. How do I include iridology in an appointment? My client comes in for the first appointment, and I will, of course, greet them. I will have them sign a release form, but they never fill in a questionnaire. I will ask them, what would you like my help with? And they give me their shopping list of things that are problematic for them. From there, I take their eye photos. I put their eye photos up on my computer screen, and I show them what I'm looking at. But I only talk about markings that relate directly to the things that are on my client's shopping list. And I look at that shopping list and I figure out how are the things that they want help with bundled together. Because so many times we will see 3 or 4 symptoms that the client thinks are each individual problems, but they're almost always linked together, and they have a common root problem. So when I understand how these symptoms are linked, I analyze the iris based on that, and I look for markings in the eye that explain why this root of the problem exists. And then we talk about client's diet, I have them walk me through what a normal day of food looks like. I'm able then to pick 1 or 2 key things in their diet that need a revamp that will have significant impact. I ask my client, what supplements are they taking? And we sort through the supplements. If these are effective for where you're at now, these will not be. We're going to put them aside. I maybe want to add something in to make sure this program is laser focused where we need it. We will talk about lifestyle. Does this person have healthful habits? And I will give them often 1 piece of homework that is going to help them with their healthy lifestyle. So I've really only given them 1 or 2 dietary changes to make. We've revamped any supplements they're using, and I've maybe added 1. If they aren't using supplements when they come in to see me for the first time, I might give them 2 supplements to work with. And I might give them 1 lifestyle thing as well. So I keep the programs really focused, really succinct, and really direct. Now, and that really works, because then I'm able to say to my client at the end of that appointment, I'd like to see you again in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever is appropriate for what we're working on. And I can then say, when you've done this homework, I anticipate we are going to see a shift in these symptoms in this way. And when we see that shift, we will know that we can go on to the next step in your next appointment. And that helps my clients to know that I have heard what they've said, what they want help with, but I'm working at a deeper level than just band-aiding symptoms. It helps them to understand that they need to do their homework. And the better they do their homework, the more quickly we'll be able to direct them on this path. And number 3, it tells them that I have a plan. I understand that A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D, right? And that gives them courage and faith to lock down and do their homework the way it should be done. So why do I love constitutional iridology? Well, I love it because it is based in science. And for all of the reasons that I've mentioned previously, where it's based in science and it tells us what questions to ask, it helps us to create a deeper rapport with our client, there's ongoing research. This is one of the reasons why, when we talk about the course I teach, why my textbook is digital and not hard copy, because when there's new research and IPA says we need to include this new research in the curriculum, I can go in and update my textbook for my students. Pretty simple, right? So I love it because of the ongoing research. I love it because I have been so supported by my constitutional teachers, right? Even though I certified with Bill nearly 30 years ago with Bill Caradonna in the constitutional style, and Bill Caradonna and Harry Wolff were the founders of the original iteration of IPA, the International Iridology Practitioners Association, even though it's 30 years later, if I have a question, and I do come up with questions, I email Bill, and I know that about 3 weeks later, I'm going to get a 5-page answer. Right. And I love that. Harry Wolff and I have connected, and he also mentors me if I've got a question, or if he's posted something on a Facebook group or something like that, that I'm going, I hadn't been exposed to that before. Let's go a little deeper. He will take the time for that. And I love that even though neither of these men are teaching actively anymore, they willingly still mentor me. I love that. I have not had that support from any of my Jensenian teachers. So that is another thing that I love. How can you learn iridology during lockdown? Many of you might have seen promotional material for face-to-face classes. Well, I don't know where you are, but where I'm at, we're back to stage 1 lockdowns, which means no socializing indoors. We've got social distancing, we've got masks, we've got all that crazy stuff going on. And so my program was specifically developed to be taught online. I've been teaching it online for about 5 years now. And I've been teaching online for about 10 years, many other things as well. And so we have both the self-study version available online and a fully mentored course available online. How do you practice iridology during a lockdown? Well, that will depend on whether you've already seen the client face-to-face and have their eye photos on hand or not. It's really not that difficult. It takes some patience to get your clients, if they are new to you, to take adequate photos with their smartphones to send to you. And once you've got decent photos of their eyes, you can do their appointments via Zoom and share their eye photos back with them via Zoom, just like I share my screen with you. And you can show your client what you're talking about, have that two-way conversation. I have so many clients where I've never met them face-to-face, not just since the lockdown, but even pre-lockdowns, where it's an international client or a client who lives in another city, and for them to come to see me is not practical. But once they've got good photos, we can forge ahead very easily. Is certification important, and what does it mean to be certified? So the most important question to ask here is not just, is it important, but is it important to whom? Some of my students want to be certified, and I absolutely support them and mentor them through that process. They want to be certified for that sense of accomplishment and fulfillment, and they like having the diploma to hang on the wall. And I love that, and I will absolutely always support them in that. Some students think that their clients are going to want to ask them, well, are you certified, and who was your teacher? In all of my years of being a holistic practitioner, I think I've maybe been asked 3 times, am I certified in anything? Or where did I get my training? That's not very much to be asked that question, not very often to be asked that question in 4 decades. And so you just need to ask yourself, why do you want to be certified? And if the completion and the diploma is important, that's brilliant. If it's not, that's fine too. About 70% of my students actually opt to not get certified, because I teach them and mentor them exactly as I teach and mentor my certified students, right? So it's no difference to me whatsoever. So again, there's no wrong answer here. It's only what actually works best for you. What does it take to be a successful iridologist? Well, obviously you've got to have the training. You've got to study hard. You've got to understand that there's ongoing learning. This isn't something you can learn in a weekend and do it well. This is something that is going to take effort on your part. And if you are good at investing time in learning, then you're going to be fine here. If you have previous training in iridology, you will likely need to let go of some of your old beliefs if you want to learn constitutional iridology. I know I had to, because I was a Jensenian iridologist for nearly 10 years. Well, about 10 years, about 5 years was solid, and then 5 years of this isn't working very well before I found constitutional. And because of that frustration level, I was willing to drop what I had learned previously and to move forward with new information. To be a successful iridologist, you need to be able to explain things clearly to your clients and to put it in language they will understand. Put it into plain language, plain English, plain whatever your mother language is. You also will do best if you have other modalities. Having iridology and wanting to be an iridologist without having herbology or nutrition or aromatherapy or something else under your belt is like owning an auto mechanics business, but you only know how to assess car problems. You don't know how to fix them. So people bring your car in and you say, yep, I know what the problem is. It's this and this and this, but you got to take your car to Joe's down the street. He'll fix it for you. Right? People don't want two-stop shopping. They want one-stop shopping. So you'll be most successful if you've got a naturopathy, if you've got naturopathy training or homeopathy or herbs or nutrition or something like that. So that as you're assessing the eye and as you're coaching your client, you can give them actionable steps that are rooted in reality. Is it smart to invest in a course right now? I've had clients ask me, or students ask me, prospective students ask me this, is it smart to invest in a course right now? Can we learn this without being face-to-face? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. This is an excellent time to learn iridology because, like I said, I've been teaching this online, this specific course online for 5 years now. We have perfected it for online learning. And you can learn this without being face-to-face with people. How do you find a good course and a good instructor? Well, the first thing is, can you sample how they teach, which is exactly what you're doing right now. You're sampling how I teach, right? You're just determining whether you like my teaching style or not. Do I explain things in a way that resonates with you, that makes sense to you? Do I sound like I know what I'm talking about to you? Or am I contradicting myself? That's really important. So if you can see the teacher on YouTube videos, see how they teach, that is a really good way to decide whether that teacher is a good teacher for you. How can we take our iridology practice from a paid by the hour, financially limiting business to a business that does not have an income cap? This is probably one of the biggest conundrums that most holistic practitioners have, is that we love working one-on-one. With iridology, you will be paid, if you set this up right, for your time doing one-on-one sessions. I find that for me, an excellent way to increase my income is to carry product lines. So I love the Nature Sunshine product line. I also use a little bit of Designs for Health in my clinic. And so what that means is when I make a product recommendation to a client, I can sell them the product. I don't sell it at a huge markup. I just use suggested retail. But that does give me that retail profit as an add-on, which increases my income. And when my clients run out of product, I let them know they don't need to have an appointment to pick up refills. They can just let me know they need refills and I can get it organized and they can pick it up at their convenience without an appointment. Now with Nature Sunshine products, I've been using their products since the very beginning of my business over 40 years ago. And I love using them because I can set my clients up with user accounts, with customer accounts or consultant accounts, and then they can order the product on their own. And I receive commission. I don't necessarily have to warehouse things for them. And it's just a really great way to have extra income. All right, bonus question for you. If I become an iridologist, do I have to buy an inexpensive iridology camera? Well, I want to take this back to that car mechanic analogy, and I share with you that if your car mechanic is working with tools from the 1980s, well, a wrench and a screwdriver haven't changed much. But cars now have a lot of computer components in them that you cannot assess with a wrench and a screwdriver. You have to have the right equipment to assess that vehicle. So ultimately, as a professional iridologist, you really do want to invest ultimately in good equipment. Do you need that when you start an iridology course? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, see if I can find mine. I leave mine on my desk and then I disappear them. You know, something like a pen light and a jeweler's loop, for example, makes a great starting set of equipment. Or this kind of stuff with lighted magnifying glass that has interchangeable lenses, powered lenses in it. It's another great place to start. So we start with handheld equipment. I encourage my students to not buy a camera until after they have graduated, until after they know they absolutely love this and that they are going to be integrating it into their practice. And when they do buy, I encourage them to buy the best equipment they can possibly afford, not a $299 cheapo iriscope. I want them to buy a high resolution camera that has the right kind of lighting attachments on it. When you're shooting photos like that, you can actually then print those up. If you're seeing your client face-to-face, if you want to mail these out as a courtesy, print them up as 4-inch by 6-inch prints. But you can actually then have your name printed and your phone number or your contact info printed on the front of that photo as well in any photo editor program. And that photo then becomes a business card. I've had clients save those photos, bring them back in for a face-to-face appointment 5, 10, 15, 20 years later and go, look what I found, or look what I've got. Can we, let's do an update. And it's pretty exciting when they do that. All righty. So would it be okay with you? I didn't see any other questions come in, but I've also in that little tech faux pas have lost my chat box. Oh, there it is. There we go. How long is an appointment, Veronique? Very good. My first appointments are 75 minutes. Follow-ups are anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, depending on what we're working on. There you go. Excellent question. Excellent question. And Christine, thanks for joining us on the webinar. All right, so I'm going to flip my camera around because I want to also start showing some slides here. Let me just show this because now, with your permission, I would like to share with you information about the Iridology course. And we'll be brief here. Just let me pop into the right place to share this. Here we go. We want this one. Ta-da. There we go. Okay. So we are here. Hello again, Instagram. So good to see you. Let's pop this around and give you a good view. Ta-da. Okay. Lovely. So the Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology program is the only live online 40-hour fully mentored course for nutritionists, herbalists, and naturopaths who want to streamline their clinical work without sacrificing client care. This is so important because so many times what I see practitioners doing is they meet with the client and they do that initial appointment, they do the intake, then the practitioner goes off and spends 2 or 3 or 4 hours of their own time creating a program. They're not getting paid for that time. Then they meet with the client again to deliver the program, and they usually get paid for that. But this is doing unpaid overtime, and it's cutting into your income, which means it's also reducing the number of people you can help, right? It's not good. And when we create programs that way, the programs are too big. They overwhelm the client. The client cannot possibly do the program well. The client doesn't comply. They don't come back. But when we create these tight, focused programs right in session with the client, it creates a program that your client can more easily follow, that they can have success with. And when they have success, they want to come back and tell you about their success, and they want the next step. And that is so important. The goal of this course is to, I'm just going to grab this chat box one more time. The goal of this course is not just to teach you iridology, but it is also to teach you how to integrate iridology and integrate the skills you already have. So if you are already a naturopath, if you are already a herbalist or a nutritionist or whatever your skills are, we work to teach you in the course how to pull that into your client sessions so that you can actually create, we practice creating programs in session, right? Because that's beneficial to you and your client. The next upcoming course actually starts next week. I'm so excited. Truly I am. And this course starts on Thursday, April 21st. And I'm going to give you some more details in just a minute. It runs 5 till 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Registration closes tomorrow at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So it is 11:40 a.m. Mountain Time right now. You can do that figuring out. I am going to run through some quick details. We're going to look at an eye photo and do a quick analysis, share some stories from some of my students really quickly here. These are the eyes of one of my clients, and she came to me with some fertility issues. She wanted to get pregnant. She'd had a baby about 10 years prior, but she was having no luck this time around. And so as we were talking with her, we did her eyes. I'm going to move this closer for my Instagram people. There we go. Hello. We did her photos. And what we ascertained from her photos, Laureate is asking, light, how much power? I don't understand your question. Could you rephrase that? Lou says she loves my teaching style. Oh, thank you. I love that. Thank you for that compliment. So when I was talking with this client, I needed to find out a few things from her. First off was, what was her diet? And it was pretty high carb. I needed to find out what were her menstrual cycles like. They were way far apart. They were like 60 to 75 days apart. And I needed to find out if anybody had ever tested her for insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, to which she said no. So then I asked, has anyone ever suggested that you might have polycystic ovarian syndrome? Now you notice I'm not diagnosing. I'm asking her if anyone else has diagnosed that, to which she said no, but she suggested, she thought on her own that she might have. So when I look at her eyes, what I see here is she has brown eyes, which tells me that her liver probably doesn't may not process carbs well, and a few other things, might not regulate her hormones very well. She's got a light haze at the edge of her eyes, which really says that she probably is not processing carbs properly. She has lots of these petal-shaped marks in her eyes, which we call lacunae, which may suggest that her endocrine system doesn't like to be balanced. It likes to push out of balance. And this all made me wonder if she might have polycystic ovarian syndrome. So what we did with her is we started balancing her blood sugars, because if you understand PCOS, you understand that it has a huge insulin resistant component for most people. And so we got her balancing her blood sugars, cutting out the refined carbs. She's Asian. And so that means a lot of white rice. And a lot of Asians do their traditional white rice and mix that with all of the worst that the North American diet has to offer. So we cleaned that up. We got rid of the soda pop. We got rid of the sugary, junky stuff, cleaned it up. Got her cycles down to 30 days, which is brilliant, got her ovulating regularly, and she got pregnant. We did use some supplements as well, based on what I saw in her eyes and what her symptoms are. And it just made all the difference in the world for her, that we could see the eyes, which would teach us how to give us more information about how to balance her diet, because she needs a lot of liver support in her foods. right? And so we went that direction. We coached her on foods that are supportive of the liver and encouraged her to really incorporate those largely in her diet. And seriously, it took us about 3 months and we got her cycles regulated and she was pregnant. I wouldn't have known everything to do if I hadn't seen her eyes. So important for us to be going that direction with her, right? Alrighty, so this is one of my students, the lovely Sharon Bimrose. She's a naturopath from Australia, and she already had learned some iridology as a part of her training to be a naturopath. She said, however, for my course, Judith's course, Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology, we've changed the name to the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System, surpassed my previous training in structure, content delivery, documentation, and support. Iridology has certainly reduced the time required for prioritizing a treatment plan. Iridology, without a doubt, has been a huge game changer to my practice. I love that. She used to create programs on her own time. She does not do that anymore. That frees up time to see more clients, to have a life. You see more clients, you automatically increase your income, right? This is the lovely Stephanie. Stephanie came to me having tried to teach herself iridology. She said, I have several books on iridology and I tried to teach myself, spent hours online and YouTube watching various portions of classes and presentations. They were so conflicting and confusing and overwhelming. I told my husband, this is beyond me. I'm not getting this at all. I asked her, how did you find my program? She said, I was doing internet searches, kept hearing conflicting things. I kept searching on the internet and I stumbled across your YouTube channel and thought, oh my, this person knows how to teach. Stephanie has a master's degree in education, just saying. That was my introduction to a very reasonable approach, one that resonated with me. Brilliant. So here's the lowdown on the course, because you want to know what's involved, right? We do 20 live 2-hour-long webinars. So 1 a week for 20 weeks. Every live webinar class is recorded and posted to a student site so that you can go back and review that course at will, that lesson at will. Every topic we covered is also recorded in its own mini recording. So maybe there's just one topic that didn't stick or that you'd like to review. You don't have to go through a whole 2-hour class to find it. You just look for that topic in the topic list and there it is. And these are also divided down by lessons, so you're not on this deep digging excavation search. The textbook, as I mentioned early on, is digital downloadable because every few years, IPA does update the curriculum. And if I've required you to purchase a textbook, a hard copy textbook, 200 pages full color is an expensive printing job. Then when we add a few new pieces of information, your textbook is mostly right, but you don't have the newest stuff. So I keep my textbook digital so that when information changes, I update it and I make the updated version available to my students and my grads. So if you took the course 5 years ago and there's an updated textbook, you have access to it. I've created a digital downloadable iris map because you have to have an iris map, right? And I want you to use the one that is the most effective. Cheat sheets, we've taken the entire curriculum, condensed it into 45 pages of charts. Quick and easy reference guides. So many of my students say this is their favorite piece. This is what they keep on their desk so that when they're with a client, if they're going, oh my goodness, what was that thing? Ooh, what questions am I supposed to ask when I see this? They find it quickly in the cheat sheets because this is also fully indexed. And they just love this as a reference piece. No other teacher has created cheat sheets that I know of. We have a private Facebook group. Now, some of you are members of my Dynamic Iridology Iridology Assessment System Facebook group. That is not the Facebook group I'm talking about here. This private Facebook group is for my students and my alumni only. It is where we continue the mentoring during and after your course. I've got students from my very first course who still come back here for extra mentoring. If they've got a question, they post it there. If they're working with iPhotos and they want some clarification on something, they post them there. And the other students, the other grads and myself all weigh in community support. That's why this is valued at $10,000, because you heard me say my grads, my alumni, you never get kicked out of this group. We also twice a month have an office hours call where my students who have questions, they're working on cases, they want to have some live conversation about what they are working with. We post a reminder every 2 weeks, when is the office hours coming up? And I just say in there, if you have something you need to discuss, just drop a comment below so I know how much time to allot. We log on to that webinar. It's actually a webinar, not a phone call. We look at your iPhotos. We walk through the case you're working on. We give you that support. And again, these are recorded. So if you presented a case and you want to go back and make notes about what we said because we maybe went too fast, you can. And these, again, you are never kicked off the office hours calls. And so I've got students, like I said, from 5 years ago, from my very first class, that still come to these to get extra support and mentoring, ongoing community support, which is lovely. You know, I've done a lot of mentorship courses. I've taken a lot of mentorship courses, been involved in a lot of masterminds, and they charge like $1,000 a month to belong to them. Right? And if you don't pay, you get kicked out, right? Or you sign a contract that this is a 6-month mentorship program. At the end of the 6 months, there is no more support. I don't cut my students off. I don't cut my grads off. The office hours calls are also recorded and stored for up to 18 months. So you can go back and listen to those at will. If you decide you want to certify with IPA, I include as a gift the exam mentoring. There are 3 exams that you need to do. Level 1 is one that I administer based on their guidelines, which is I give you 10 case studies. You do the case studies, you send them back to me, I assess them, then you and I have a private one-on-one Zoom webinar where we go through and I point out what you did really well. I comment on things that maybe need a little more attention or gaps in the thinking. And when you and I both agree that you are rock solid, then we move on to exam 2. If I don't feel like you're quite as solid as I want you to be, I'll ask you to do a couple more cases that we will do exactly the way we did those first 10. When you and I agree you're rock solid, we move on to exam mentoring level 2. And that is, I think, gives me a case study that I give to you. You do the assessment, you send it to me, you and I have a private meeting, we go through this with a fine-tooth comb, we make sure you are rock solid. And when you are rock solid, if your goal here is to certify with IPA, then I will let IPA know that you've completed your coursework. You will go to IPA and purchase a student membership. And then once you've got your student membership and I have told them you are rock solid, then you can go and apply to take the exam, which currently costs $200 US. It's a digital exam that is administered online. All right. And so I include this mentoring as a gift for my students who want it. Most instructors charge extra. Now you're adding all of this up. This is the value of the course because of how much mentoring and how much one-on-one care I give you. Karen Choate, who is one of my grads, I asked her how has constitutional iridology helped you in your business. She says, constitutional iridology has helped me to understand the relationship between different organs and organ systems more in depth. It gives me an advantage of seeing the potential for different genetic traits and qualities that may be underlying. By observing the constitution, for example, you can extrapolate how the person's body will likely respond to applications of healing methods. Therefore, it's helped me to expand my knowledge and increase efficiency at providing more precise recommendations for health-oriented options. So Karen is a certified natural health practitioner, and she specializes in natural digestive health, years of experience under her belt when she came to me. Love it, love it, love it. And I love all of my students as well. So as we look at this and we see that the total course value here is $31,000, that's a little prohibitive, don't you agree? If you had to pay $31,000, even for a course that offers lifelong support, it might be a bit challenging. So I've come up with a starting point that I think is better. And that is a tuition of $23.95 Canadian, or 5 payments of $549 Canadian. Now, what does that mean? Some of you don't work with money exchange. Now, you don't need to worry about it, because when you register, this is the registration link, iridology.education course-info is the registration link. When you go in there and you click on register, it's going to take you to PayPal, and PayPal will take care of converting things for you. So when if you're paying in US dollars, it's $549 Canadian. It's going to show up as approximately $450 US coming off your credit card through your PayPal account. About 325 British pounds sterling, or 575 Australian dollars. We also, if you want to do one pay, you can do one payment, which will work out to roughly $19.25 US. Now, the exchange rate fluctuates a bit. And of course, PayPal takes their percentage and whatnot. So that inflates the price a tiny bit. $1,400 British pounds sterling, $2,500 Australian dollars. Again, the course starts on April 21st. On April 21st at 5 p.m. And we go for 20 consecutive Thursdays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Here's your registration link again, iridology.education/course-info. But remember, registration closes tomorrow at 8 p.m. or when I've got 10 students. I never take more than 10 students, because it's important to me that we have enough time for you to ask questions and have the conversations in class that you need to have. All righty, so there you go. There's the link again, iridology.education/course-info. All righty, any questions? Any questions that I maybe missed? Hopefully I didn't miss any of them. I'm not finding my chat box. There it is. There it is. Any questions? Anything I can help you with right now? Awesome. Okay. Not seeing anything come in. Sometimes it does take a few seconds to come in. But again, I encourage you to hop on over there. If you have questions and if you'd like to have a private conversation with me, reach out to me and I will send you a quick link to book a phone call, which is not a sales pitch phone call. It's not a high pressure phone call. It's a phone call to see if this program actually is a good fit for you. All right. And so with that, my friends, I think we're done. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope that answered some of your questions about becoming an iridologist and how to find a good course and how to find an instructor that you can work with. I look forward to seeing you again. Take good care and have a fabulous weekend. Bye for now.